everybody! Oh my goodness. Welcome. Today is a very special day. It is my 2-year anniversary of ever writing a horror or a flash piece. So 2 years ago today, I finished reading The Anatomy of Prose by Chaucer Black, and one of its little exercises you should do, suggestions was try a flash fiction. So I did, and it was a horror, and I loved it. So I have been hooked ever since, and yeah, let me go to YouTube. Let's see. Maybe I have to do something on my YouTube thing to allow raids. I don't think so. Okay, I think it's fine. Yeah. So today was amazing. I woke up to an email from Black Hair Press, and they bought my 16th piece to be published. So 2 years to the day, 16 pieces accepted. I'm very happy. So that's what went down. The piece that they bought was my Birth of a Nephilim story. So a few people have read it to give me feedback, but it is the birthing process of a giant half-fallen angel thing, and it is not pretty. So that's piece number 16. But let me say hello to the chat. Hello, Jules. Spooky Horror-versary. Thank you. And the monsters speak for yay. Thank you so much. And hey, Maggie. And thank you, Barrett. Hello, Lauren. Hello, Nick. Hey, Eva. Happy Horror-versary. I'll be back after bedtime routine with the little guys. Be back soon. Awesome. And yes, this was number 16. So I need to update my website again. Let's see. Jenna says, congrats, have to get to bed for 4:30 wake up time. Ugh. That is horror. My goodness. And yes, it's so cool. And hello. They're oogling Loki. Nice. Hello, cool gamer. They are coming, I promise. Was it last week? It might have been. I sold Tentacles and Boomboxes to Lovecraftiana. So, yeah. Hello, Regina. Hello, Nikki. And, hello, Isabella. Hello, Megan. Hello, and Tugger with the cat with the hearts. And Chandra. And Deidre. I can't pronounce names. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Let's see. So I do have a video. I have 2 videos now. One is a 50-minute description presentation that I did for the AuthorTube Writing Conference. So it's in my videos, in my AuthorTube playlist. But it's writing descriptions that suck your reader in. So I do have a full presentation with slides. Oh, thanks, Regina. Let's see. Hey, Nia. Shannon. Okay. So, to start this all off, I thought we could start with me reading the first ever horror flash piece I wrote. The only place it has been published was Charlie Dorset's podcast. So it's not under contract anywhere. It's called Cthulhu Rises. So had I read any Lovecraft by then? I don't think I had. I don't think I'd read a single Lovecraft piece, but I knew of it. So that's what I did. Let me share my screen. So this is my first ever horror flash. Okay. Cthulhu Rises. From the depths of the sea, Cthulhu opened his brine-soaked eyes. It was time. The thermal vents warming his ancient abode stopped as the world stilled. Leathery wings unfurled, and with each flap, the titan of the old gods rose to the surface, rose to meet humanity. With the crack of lightning, his head breached the surface, forgotten air caressing his face. Over the din of the crashing waves, chanting could be heard. They were here. Cthulhu waits, Cthulhu dreams, drifts on the wind. On the distant shore of the ocean, drowning the city of Relia, the cult of Cthulhu stood, their arching lines surrounding a flame over which they had erected a wicker effigy. Him. The star spawn that legend foretold would bring the new age to this lost and wasted planet. A new age desperately needed. For the people had turned, brother on brother, and none else knew of the psyche-changing knowledge of the unknowable great old ones, of their own human insignificance. With a mighty bellow, Cthulhu jaggernauted through the storm to his followers, those ants who were chanting his name, raising their puny arms towards the heavens. They would know he was eternal, made of stardust and the rage of ancients. The vague imaginings of ancestor Azathoth writhed along the beach in the moonlight as he gave the mighty bellow. The aligned stars shimmered and knew him. In swaths they fell from their inky seats, crashing into the seas of earth. He was king. He opened wide his maw. The air chilled and the cult collapsed, their souls being called home to him whom they worshipped. The fire whipped out of existence. Now onto those who can't even acknowledge their own insignificance and let loose their minds to the truth. So, that was my first ever horror flash piece. So, woot woot. Well, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Thanks. So, fun times. Definitely a shorter flash piece, but I just fell in love with the format, and just the short pieces have become my favorites. It's hard to pull a story into a novel sometimes now. It's just like, thanks. Yeah, for being the first, it's not too shabby. I don't cringe with utter revulsion at it, so I take it as a plus. So what made me realize short horror was my jam? Being able to tell a condensed story. So cutting straight to the action, no need for subplots, and just, I like unhappy endings, and those definitely lend themselves to horror. And so with horror flash pieces, you can end them with a punch, with death and sounds of creepiness, and just being able to get in there, like, be able to affect a reader in such a short amount of time is really, really fun. Anytime we don't cringe in utter revulsion at our writing is a good time. Exactly. So, I thought we could turn this into a little bit of an AMA. So, ask me things if you want. Punch the air out of the reader. Exactly. It's a great time. Yeah, so I have stuff published in magazines, on online zines, in anthology collections. I have a middle grade horror novel on submission. And I have a horror collection of 105 stories right now that is with the developmental editor. So that's where I'm at. And Roy's just hanging out on the couch. Let's see, what's the story that you've read that scared you the most? When I was a kid, Coraline scared me, with the hand tapping on the window and like leaving gouges in the glass from the other mother's hand that like came off in the door jamb. So that scared me as a kid. I just read Coraline again last month for the first time since then, and it wasn't nearly as scary. But that scared me. When the White Witch in the Narnia books controlled Lucy through a book, I was like, oh, heck no. Nobody can control me through a book. Please, no. But it wasn't a book. It was an adaptation. But the Goosebumps episode of Stay Out of the Basement, the one with the plant like the plant that replaced their dad, scarred me for life. Oh my gosh. Yeah, just, I had nightmares for months that like my parents were going to be replaced by these evil plants and they were going to try and kill me off or something. And it was just terrifying. And I finally conquered that fear with my middle grade horror novel, because retribution upon the plant people. So, yeah. How many have I written to completion? Probably 125. Maybe 150, somewhere in there. My horror collection is 105, so it's more than that because I didn't put them all in there. When are we getting a Roy timer? So he is in the 10-minute puppy timer, but I don't have a timer of just Roy yet. I tried and he just kept moving, but I should try again with him like in my lap, because then he usually stays still for a while. Or just, put the clips together. Yes. Goosebumps traumatized me. We were not allowed to have it in the house because I watched it in elementary school with a substitute teacher. My mom was so mad because it scarred me. And sometimes scary movies still get to me. Like The Babadook. I haven't gotten through it, but it's more than just horror. It was just the anxiety and the I don't know. It was just, I felt so bad for the mom. Like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad for her. It was just too heavy, and I stopped. I believe Sinister, I also have not finished. I watched the opening, and I was like, this is really dark. Why am I watching this? Let me watch something else. So, yeah, it just depends on the mood. And yes, the Boris Karloff movie, The Body Snatcher, when they are on a carriage ride coming from a cemetery, and there's like a body in the back, like a ghost that shows up in the back of the carriage. My feet just went whoop up off the floor onto the couch. No, thank you. Yeah, I should make a Roy timer. Coraline was definitely scary as a kid. It was Goosebumps first, the episode, and then Banned, and then Coraline. But my mom read it first, and she only let me finish it. My younger siblings weren't allowed to because it was so scary. Sparkman right more horror. So as you can see, I enjoy horror. I have the Haunted Mansion stretching room portraits from Disneyland and my monster wall. But I've fallen in love with the monsters, with those who feel like they don't belong and feel abandoned sometimes by their creator, and just the impact of the endings that have twists sometimes, and just I just love them. Horror just comes to me. I don't know why. It just comes. So like today I read 2 books. I read Possession of Natalie Glasgow, which is like 98 pages, and Cosmos, which is 100-word stories. I have 2 in here, but I finally read it. So, like, reading short horror can help me spark more ideas because it's very quick to be able to see how others deal with different problems and how they approach the genre in all these multifaceted ways. Like in here, there's a space whale story. Like I've never seen a space whale done seriously. The android one in here, chef's kiss. That twist was so good. But like there was also a lot of cannibalism amongst the crew and like wanting silence on the ship. So lots of that. But being able to see how different people approach it in such a concise manner helps my brain to be able to think, how can I think out of the box? Okay. So what recent creepy imagery you've read that you would have wanted to come up with? Ooh. Okay. So there is a anthology called Drabbledark, and I believe it was volume 2, which I was reading last week. And it's a bunch of 100-word horrors. And there was one that was about a chef. So I've written one dark fantasy that was a Cinderella retelling. And it's about a dressmaker. But this one was even shorter. It was 100 words, and it was about the chef who made the dainty dish to set before the king, the 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. And so that whole thing went down. But then the story was the princess was like, I want a dainty dish of my own. And so the chef was like, I'll go aquatic this time. So he cooks up a bunch of frog legs and serves them to the princess. And when the princess puts the frog leg to her lips, it turns into a prince's leg, like the leg of a human prince. And I'm just like, that is so genius. I wish I had come up with that. Like, oh my gosh, brilliant. Just mush the fairy tales together and have that twist and the spin and just, yes. Thank you. So good. Thank you, Jennifer. Let's see. I've written some horror and sci-fi, indie published 10, but I don't think I found an audience for them yet, except for my vampires. Yeah, so with my horror collection, my goal is to make back what I invested into it. I don't expect to make a lot of money off of it because, like, I'm not published in any of the professional paying publications, like the Fiddlehead or anything like that. I'm in more of Ghost Orchid Press, Black Hair Press, Black Petals Magazine, Frost Zone Zine, and other Lovecraftiana, stuff like that. So, like, some people might be able to find me through that, but I don't know. Like, vampires, I think, are the most marketable. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to market cosmic horror to a wide audience. So, yeah. Maybe like a walk for the birth timer. Ooh. Good idea. Good idea. Horror still freaks me out. Watch Psycho. Yes. Wasn't even that bad, but it freaked me out at the end. Okay, so Psycho freaked me out at the very end. So when Norman Bates is sitting in the cell at the police station, the camera is zooming in on him as he's doing his monologue. And then it crossfades into the car being pulled out of the swamp. And as it crossfades into the car grill, it superimposes an image of the skull on Norman Bates's face. So his teeth grow into skull teeth and then grow into the car grill. And it's just like, ah! So that part was the freakiest part for me. And oh my gosh, it was just so well done. Let's see. 2 free samples on my coffee page, but I think Laura's Horror is gorier than mine. I don't have too much gore. Some of my gore is implied, but yeah. Nice. Are there any monsters you would like to add to your monster wall? So I have... Let's pick this up and move it. And I'm pressing stuff on the touchscreen. Anyway, I have some Japanese ghost paintings. One right here. So I finally have Japanese ghost paintings that I love. But I only have one of Dracula on a metal plate right there. So I need a lot more vampires. I need Dracula. So I had one canvas picked out, but then they stopped shipping to Canada. So So I need more Dracula. And of a couple, like Bela Lugosi Dracula. But I don't know, like there's so many iterations. Like even in the Hugh Jackman Van Helsing movie, that Dracula was also really fun. So that's cool. I loved Interview with the Vampire. So I just need more vampires. I have just one. So seems a little odd. I have mostly Frankenstein's monster. So yeah. And hello, Morgan. Yes. A Haunted Mansion ride is so fun. It is one thing that merges the spooky, scary with the fun at the same time. It starts off dark and spooky, and there's knockings on the walls and like things trying to get out of coffins, and the clock is spinning with the slash light across it as the devil's tail moves as the pendulum. Like, it's so creepy cool. And then you get to like the seance and stuff. But then once you get to the graveyard, it's just a happening place, and it's really fun, and there's a song going on, and it's great fun, and it's just like the perfect blend. And I love that. It sets the dark, creepy atmosphere tone, but then it makes you enjoy your ride. So, yes. I literally can't read or watch horror. I get extremely anxious, even though I know it's not real, and can never fall asleep. Love Haunted Mansion, all those classics, though. Oh, yay. So, that's me with horror video games. If the controller starts vibrating, I'm out. I don't want to die. I do not want to die. So I have played Phasmophobia with my siblings, but that's on the PC. So I brave up and I play Phasmophobia. See, as a horror writer, do you occasionally draw inspiration from fairy tales or folk tales? Yes. So there was actually a middle grade story that I wanted to write that was basically in an alternate dimension, like the fairy realm, where the fairy tales were all true. And so it was basically a bed and breakfast for all of the creatures that were going down the different paths, because it was like the doorways were all there, and then there was the bed and breakfast. And so they had rooms for giants, they had rooms for pixies, they had rooms for brownies and stuff like that. So Baba Yaga was going to be in there, but it never happened. So it's on the back burner. Way on the back burner. But yeah, it would be fun to pick that up again. So I do have a piece called Fairy Godmother, where the fairy godmother haunts a girl and shows up as a shadow figure in her photos and wants to grant a wish in exchange for something. And the girl finally bites the bullet and makes the wish and finds out that the price is human bone. So the fairy godmother takes the bones from her inner ear and just not fun, and crunches them like candy. So sometimes I do take fairy lore, like gruesome fairies, but maybe I should do something with a kelpie. That would be fun too. And there are a bunch of Japanese folklore as well, of like, I think it was a woman with a peony lantern who came back, and was it her husband or just some dude? I can't remember. But the neighbor saw them and was like, dude, you slept with a skeleton last night. He's like, what the heck? So, I don't know. There's so much inspiration everywhere. It's really, really cool. Hopefully word of mouth will help us all sell our books. So I mix horror and sci-fi together sometimes. Um, a lot of that is more Lovecraftian cosmic horror in mine. Um, but let's see. I have a dark fairy tale where. How long is it? Let me see. It's called Dress Seams. There it is. It's on my blog. Oh, it's really short. Okay. Here's one where I mix fantasy with, I don't know if it's technically horror or it's just dark fantasy, I guess. But yeah. So it's called Dress Seams. The magic dust faded as the gown finished its transformation, its gossamer layers more intricate than the night sky. Beyond the fence, a dressmaker was pacing. The shimmering glow had attracted his attention, and he now beheld the most beautiful dress he had ever seen. "Ma'am," he cried out, "please, ma'am, may I study your dress?" If he could incorporate some of the techniques utilized in this design, his honor would be restored, and he would once again be the head dressmaker for the queen. Cinderella looked over to the poor man. His clothes were little better than her own had been not a minute before. Her heart went out to him. "I'm on my way to the ball, but you can study it while in the carriage." The man leapt over the hedge and kissed her hand. "My dear madam, you will be my redemption tonight." Together they climbed into the gilded carriage, escorted by the footman who had once been mice. Their own uniforms glinted in the moonlight, catching the dressmaker's eyes, but he focused once more on the blue perfection in front of him. "Go ahead, study away," Cinderella said, holding her arms out so he could get a better view of the inseams. The older man pulled out his glasses and began his inspection. It was full of mutterings of "ingenious" and "simply splendid." Large wheels creaked over the cobblestone road leading to the magnificent castle. There were not many other carriages, but the local peasants not invited to the ball gawked in awe. They tried to crowd the carriage, to make it stop, its glittering jewels just asking to be taken. But the coach driver was wise beyond his transformed brain and ran them over instead to protect his charge. Bump, bump, bump. Cinderella and the dressmaker paid the abnormally bumpy road no mind. They were rounding the corner in the long drive up to the castle gates when the dressmaker found it. The hem-stitch and pinning held together by magic, irreplaceable by human arts. There was no possible way for him to reproduce this dress without the unsightly seam for all to see. His hopes were dashed. "My dear, it has been a pleasure to study your dress in all its intricacies. I see now that I was never meant to be able to construct such a design. I will never be able to compete with your fairy godmother. It was a doomed endeavor from the start. The queen will never want second best." He kissed her hand once again and hung himself from the carriage door. So, oh, it looks tiny on the screen. But yeah, short, a little gruesome, fun times. See, I was kind of shaking when I finished Psycho. Plus, I was 12, which was last year, so it didn't go well. Do you prefer to write psychological horror or more gore-related horror? Neither. I like cosmic. So I guess it's psychological. It's where the people lose their minds from their own insignificance. So I do have some gore. I have one with a red cap in a Scottish Highland moor thing, like in a castle basement. So that one had some gore, but normally they're not too gory. Off to watch Roman Holiday with the family. Decidedly not scary, but a great movie all the same. Bye, Wallace. Implied gore. Yeah. And you can have fun in the line too with all the music and interactive sections. Yeah. For Haunted Mansion. Hi, Shannon. Of the 16 pieces you've sold, which is your favorite? I think it's Tentacles and Boomboxes, which will be in Lovecraftiana spring 2023. So it's a short story. It is over 5,000 words, so it's definitely one of my longer pieces. And it's about a Lovecraftian LARP in the 1980s that goes terribly, terribly wrong. Or right. So, depends on who you are. So, that one is great fun. Jace Maxwell did the developmental edits for that one and greatly improved it. And I love how it turned out. A horror story you started and threw away. Tell us about it. I have a lot that I started and have not finished. I have one about he's like 18, but he inherits his house from his parents who, maybe he's 22, something like that. But he was taken away from the house when he was 6 and put in the foster system. And then his parents died, so he inherited it. And so now he's gone back to the house and is having the voice of his mother in his head telling him, like, you're not worthy of this or that or the other thing. And eventually his therapist told him to go and, like, see the house and try and confront his trauma. So he goes and he's going to spend the night in his old bedroom from when he was a kid. So he's sleeping in the top bunk. And as he's sleeping, he hears movement and the fingers of a child curl over the railing of the bunk bed that he's in. Freaks him out. And that's as far as I got. I'm pretty sure the child is himself when he was 6. So it's his trauma presenting and he has to try and confront it. But I got stuck. I have one with a lighthouse that I'm stuck on. There is, in the, I believe it was the 20s, the Fresnel lights were about, and they were on baths of 200 pounds of mercury. So the lighthouse keepers would literally go mad from mercury poisoning because they would strain it through chamois leather and barehanded. So they would be touching mercury all the time, like, just not good. So his wife died and he sees her silhouette dancing in the light of the lighthouse, and he drops some mercury and it goes into the grooves in the floor, and the grooves make sigils, and he's trying to think, has he lost his mind, or, like, is something happening? And so I want it to be more of a psychological piece. But yeah. Those are two of the ones that I'm stuck on. Cloak of Bones was originally a flash piece that I extended into a short story, and I was stuck on the short story version for 2 years, but I finally finished it. Less than 2 years, but almost 2 years. So, yeah. Yes, Baba Yaga, the Bone Fairy. Hey, BA. Twisted retelling of Tinkerbell. I don't know the lore of Tinkerbell in particular. There's so much grossness in the original versions of fairy tale. Exactly. And I also read Roald Dahl's Revolting Rhymes as a kid. So that Cinderella was interesting. Love me some dark fairy tales, like original fairy tales, really. Exactly. I also like mixing horror with sci-fi. I can't watch horror, but I'm able to read it, which makes no sense to me. I would think that reading it would be harder on my imagination and brain. I don't know. I think it depends on how vivid your imagination is, like how vivid you see things, because I don't see things in my brain when I read or write. So I just hear my voice narrating the words that I am putting down or reading. So, yeah. There's something about random torture and mutilation built in the stories of royalty and disobedience. Something just calls me. I can't help it. Love fairy tales. Can't watch or read horror, but love haunted houses, real and fake, and haunted rides. That's interesting. Because those ones you're physically in them. Huh. Let's see. It's probably the music. Dang creepy music gets me every time. Yes, with the jump scares where they pull out the music and then just blast it back in your face. It's like, stop it. You don't love horror movies, books, or haunted houses. I'm afraid you can't. I hear the non-existent music when reading horror. So sometimes I dream my stories. Like my story ideas come from dreams. And my dreams are wild. Sometimes they have soundtracks. So they have music. Sometimes they're in limited color palettes. So they'll be black, white, and red. Or black, white, red, and the blue of the collar of the dog in 101 Dalmatians. Because Cruella de Vil was after me as a child. It was terrifying. Sometimes it's in illustration styles, like Where the Wild Things Are. So, yeah, sometimes I get my horror ideas from those. Eva says, I read short horror fiction. There can't be that much suspense if I can finish it in an hour. Yeah, true. Let's see, I tried a few longer fiction novels so far, but have DNF'd them all. Just not my jam. Psychological thrillers are as close as I get. It's hard for me to get through a whole novel nowadays, unless it's middle grade. So, yeah. Like, I just read Rosemary's Baby this Monday, which was actually a novel, but it was like bigger print and fairly easy to read. So it's like I just breezed through it. It was like, thank you. I can't watch horror because most of it is kind of gory to an extent that I get really sick looking at blood. So I have to pass normally. I see. Or any thrillers, really. Those are close to horror sometimes. I was not prepared for that ending. Let's see. That may be. Let's see. May also be that most of the horror I've seen incorporates gore. I think, yeah. Hey, John. Thank you. Like asking him to pick a favorite baby. You put out so many stories and you're starting others and not finishing them? Holy moly. I know. I have a few. I also have a Dark Carnival one. That's going to have a murderous clown cult and a sleeping elder god in a exhibit sideshow. So that one I started. The Dunk Tank is actually a interrogation cage from an insane asylum down the road that they stole and are using as a dunk tank. So, yeah, it's a fun one. If you can afford a fifth. Oh my gosh. I like the premise. I think I've heard you talk about it. It's not done. I know it's not done. A lot of these aren't done. which is all the things I still can't comprehend how. It's just, I don't know. I have OCD and ADHD, and I hyperfixate on writing usually, but now I'm hyperfixated on reading while I refill my creative well, and then I'll be back to hyperfixating on writing. I like that he's the child haunted by his past trauma. Thanks. So before horror, I wrote a young adult sci-fi, paranormal sci-fi. So it's called Souls of Atua, and it is permanently shelved until I figure out if I want to rewrite it as an alien species, like an alien culture, instead of an Earth culture that I'm not a part of. Because I can't find any Samoan sensitivity readers. So, yeah. See, that sounds very poish to me. A lighthouse one, somehow. Yes. Poe-esque. So that one actually came from a anthology that where it had the story had to take place on an island in like a dying fishing village in New England. And so I was like, I'll just do it in the lighthouse on the village in the dying fishing town. So yeah. And then I watched a video about the history of the Mad Lighthouse, so on YouTube, and that sparked a lot of good stuff. See, Jessica says, I have far too much to do to hang out tonight, but want to congratulate you on all the things you accomplished since your first horror. Thank you. And thank you for the readathon. It's been great so far. Poe, the original master of horror. Shudder. I can't do the fake haunted houses, but I'll investigate a real one all night long. Nice. Let's see, I gotta be in the mood to watch horror. My imagination gets overstimulated with movies, so I guess it would be worse with books. I try to finish my PR author's work, though. I try to read Friends or PR. Puerto Rican author's works. Cool. Let's see. Do you want to write in another genre besides horror? If yes, which? So the other one that I started and didn't even finish the first chapter with yet is a dark fantasy romance. Yeah, that was going to be my April Camp Nano project. Fell through. I did other stuff. I finished compiling I worked on compiling Tiny Shivers instead. But yeah, I would love to have my dark fantasy romance finished. That would be fun. The first chapter is the wedding. So it's an arranged marriage. They meet at the altar. There's blood magic. There's dream magic. He's literally a knight in shining armor and has to go off to war. So, fun times. When you do your sensitivity readers for your horror, what are you looking for from that reader? I haven't had sensitivity readers for horror. I've had developmental editors for my horror. Yeah, usually my pieces are so short that I don't even bother to come up with the orientation of the character or anything like that. Sometimes I don't even know their gender. So I haven't really needed sensitivity readers for a lot of these 100-word ones. Yeah. Good night, Shannon. So, There is one story that I would like to write that takes place in a voodoo shop. And Grayson Wild has volunteered to be a sensitivity reader for that one if I ever get around to it. So just trying to be respectful for other religions and cultures. So, yeah, trying to not just paint it from an outsider's view. Has the support of the community played a positive role in your motivations? Does it ever play a negative role? So, it's an interesting question. Usually it's positive. So, writing sprints are great, and being able to have an audience to bounce stuff off of has been great. Being able to get to know people and actually develop relationships with some people has been nice. Finding critique partners, being able to swap stories, but those play a negative role. Sometimes it makes you wonder when a lot of people aren't being productive, and you're like, am I too productive and I should take a break? Or like, am I the weird one? Like, I don't play video games, so like when other people take entire streams to play video games, it's like you could be writing. So it's this whole give and take of that's how other people refill the creative well. So I just usually don't go to those streams very much and just keep writing on my own. So sometimes it makes me second guess myself. But yeah, I don't know. But now I'm reading instead of writing. Well, I wrote 100 word today, but yeah, I don't know. Since you're looking to be traditionally published, do you have a dream imprint? Scholastic, so I can get in their book fair. Big Five would be cool, but Scholastic is my dream. Let's see. I know you do the art thing too. Have you ever considered children's books with horror elements, cutesy horror? So, I have a nephew, and I wanted to make a board book for him when he was a baby. And all of my board book ideas were too scary, according to my family. Like, I wanted to do highlights from the Vincent short that Tim Burton did in the 80s. And they vetoed that. So I think I could now. But yeah. A cutesy horror. I don't know how I would end it, because most of my endings are dark. So maybe we'd have to end with someone turning on a light or something to banish the shadows. But yeah, like it was hard with this middle grade to give it a happy ending, like a happy for now. So I've definitely been working on it. Have you ever considered a horror comic? If I worked with somebody else who drew it for me, I can draw, but like for my horror collection, I have commissioned them from an illustrator on Fiverr. I can draw, I can paint, but I'm just not confident in my skills compared to what other people can do. Because I don't practice it as much as I should. Nearly enough. You're good, Nikki. until you see writing mystery. My mother started writing a mystery book. She's like 30K into it. But so my problem with my YA sci-fi that I wrote is there is a big mystery component to it. You don't know who the villain is, and you have to try and like find him throughout the book. And it's the first of a series, so he's the big bad that you're going to be following throughout the series. And my problem was, as soon as I figured something out, I would have my main character figure it out, because I don't want her to be dumb. So she was as smart as me, the author. It's just like, I can't do it this way. So I would have to do a lot more planning and plotting. Like, I did a plot embryo, but I would need more detailed who finds out what when. So, yeah. Let's see. Good night, Lauren. Let's see. No, you're not too productive. You're disciplined. I can see how that comes up for you, and trust that you keep on keeping on. Take care of yourself for sure, but don't feel like you can't write for fun. Yeah. Like, part of it is I'm most productive when I have a day job. And I got laid off during COVID because they weren't filming anything for us to work on for the movies anymore. So I got laid off, and I just sat on the couch for a few months, and I didn't write anything. I didn't edit anything. But once I have a day job again, like once I got one back, it was just right back into writing after work. So usually I work for 8 hours and then I write for 4 hours. So yeah, I don't know. If it helps, I struggle with being productive on streams because my brain is one of those that I have to write when I'm in the mood or I can't do it. But you're not too productive. Thank you. I felt that, not here in Offitu, but in other places. Yeah. I hate that she's overproductive mocking. Creating is how you feel yourself. Don't second guess yourself. I'll join you in it. You are amazingly productive, Maggie. Your hold my coffee was just mind-blowingly awesome. Yay for Scholastic! See, everyone is different. There's nothing wrong with your process if it works for you. Yeah. But Eva said, you're not too productive. Like, I still, okay, I got a dishwasher. So I do my dishes now again. So doing dishes is good. I do take my dog on walks twice a day. So, like, I do get out of the house twice a day. I get into the sunshine. But, yeah, it's just how I enjoy life, I guess, is by writing now. So, yeah. As someone who used to work Scholastic book fairs in Puerto Rico, yes! Yay! There's one I love called Jack King and something something. I looked it up. I'll look it up if you want to know it. It ends because the monster is the shadow of safe grown-ups, not a monster at all. Ooh. That'd be cool. I'd love to know what it is. See, I've heard others say, you are the description queen. Do you ever feel the pressure of Yes, I do! Oh my gosh! So sometimes my brain just doesn't function. My brain chemistry is whack. I am on a few prescriptions. And so, like, before the description workshop that I had last week, my brain was not functioning the whole day. And I was like, I gotta get it together before the workshop. I don't want to cancel it. I can't cancel it. Like, so, just the pressure to perform sometimes is it just depends on the brain, on the way that my brain is that day. Like some days it's totally fine. Like I'll just write stuff in the comments section on YouTube and write stories that way. But sometimes, like my first book, my YA sci-fi, had like no descriptions in it because I have aphantasia and I don't see things in my brain. And so I didn't world build enough to know what are the sinks made out of? How would they build it? So what does it look like? What does it feel like? And so I've come a long way. And I think that is definitely a badge of honor to be the description queen. Because it shows how much I've grown in writing since 2018. So, because that's when I started writing. So 18, 19, 2019. I don't remember. So yeah, it's a badge of honor. There is pressure, but I think it's okay. It's not horror, or is it? I don't know. Maybe it is. Children's book horror is a genre I'm not familiar with or even sure exists. There are where is it? I think it's in my bedroom. I have an alphabet book, A to Z, of different ways to die. So, like, it's a little children's illustrated book with, like, asphyxiation and drowning and stuff like that. Bees. But, yeah. So, I'm pretty sure it's aimed at adults and it's satirical, but, children's book horror, it's gotta exist. It's gotta. With parents who like love Tim Burton and creepy stuff, and yes, I'm sure they're trying to indoctrinate their children into the horror. Let's see. Ooh, that sounds interesting. I like the idea of not knowing who the villain is. Yes. So the villain has the ability to alter and seal off memories. So the people that he's like encountering, he'll seal off the memory that they've encountered him. But then there's effects and he'll like implant impulses. And so this whole thing of trying to find who is it and where are they hiding, or is it just a medical something going on with their brains? We got to go do some CAT scans. So, yeah. Favorite horror anime or anime with horror elements? Well, with horror elements would be Attack on Titan. But I love Vampire Knight. I love Helsing. Yeah. So, I'm trying to think what else. For manga, Uzumaki by Junji Ito. Hello, Savion! What time of day do you feel like your creative juices flow? At night. After work. Or during work. But then I can't work on it. So, I usually write from like 7 to 11. Yeah. So sometimes I'll do it into 1 a.m, depending. If I can't sleep, like I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and went and edited stories until 4:30 in the morning. So yeah, I don't know. My brain is just whack. So I'm definitely a night owl. Mornings, I get a morning as late as possible, as close to starting work. You can always cancel things. I'm glad you do it, though. I do like how it went. You guys were fabulous in the chat, giving all these suggestions, and it definitely helped fill in the gaps where my brain was just like, ah! So, yeah. Yeah. I just, like, I was functional mostly. I don't know. It was okay. It turned out well. Brain function is whack, cracked me up, but it makes complete sense. Just know you did amazing on the workshop. Depending on the brain days, completely valid. It was a great stream. Thank you, Nick. Not so. I wanted to do the stream. It was just the day of. My brain was like, "Can you?" So it was just that particular day fell off. But I totally wanted to do the stream. So you're fine. You're totally fine. Oh, thanks. It totally is. It totally is. It was all white room syndrome in my first draft, plus tent shifts. Oh my gosh. I hate tent shifts. They are the bane of my existence. Let's see. We have senior work. A few off days won't change our minds. It's a skill you have to hone with your effort and time. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks. See, your description work that helped me out so much. I was getting stuck in some descriptions. I listened to your workshop and was like, oh, that's how you write that. Much appreciated. Oh, yay. I'm glad. Goodbye, Aunt Hugger. Thank you. D.L. Tellery, the mistress of horror. Hello, hello. Yes, the description workshop was, I believe, August 2nd. It's in my Author 2 playlist and my uploads. I believe the first 25 minutes are intros and talking to the chat, but then it gets into going through Desiree and JC's pieces. Let's see. 3 a.m. spooks. It's a trending concept for youngsters on YouTube. My son likes scary YouTube videos, but won't watch a children's rated G movie because some scene is too scary. Oh no! My little brother, oh my gosh, when he was younger, watched Lord of the Rings, no problem. Anything with a scarecrow, he was terrified. Orcs, psh, didn't care. Scarecrows got him. It's like, okay, brother mine. Let's see. Regina, must dip out. I will watch the rest on replay. Just know that writing horror takes a special passion. You're doing great. Thank you, Regina. Aha! Esther with the win. Here's a link to the workshop. Awesome sauce. Let's see. Those stickers you sent me with the prize package. How do I get them to pull apart? That's difficulty. Aha. All stellar anime choices, and Uzumaki is a terrifying one. So I have a shelf that is a third Junji Ito. I have Uzumaki, Gyo, Frankenstein Smashed, Deserter, and Shiver. And I want to get Tomoe and the rest of them. So just special place in my heart for Junji Ito. And I met him and I got his autograph in my Uzumaki copy on my birthday before COVID. He came up here to Toronto and was at the library, and it was great. Look at those links. So hot. JC and I are on it. Let's see. Yeah, Night Riders. Once I'm tamed, I mean wrenched, I try to do my duty. Let's see. brains are such backstabbers sometimes. I know, they're front stabbers too. Do you have a dream agency or an author you would like to be agency siblings? I don't have a dream agency. One that will take me, please. Agent siblings. You know, Lindsay Puckett would be great. She's awesome. I don't know if we would be siblings or like, but R.L. Stine would be really cool too. Like, that would be just like the biggest badge of honor. Let's see. Be great. Yes, the brain can mess us up sometimes. Can't they? They're just so fickle. I think it's easier to write descriptions to descriptions. Dialogue is not my forte. I find it hard to make dialogue like age specific appropriate for different characters and stuff. Like most of my characters sound like me when they talk because of how I was raised. I don't swear. And so like none of my characters swear because it makes me uncomfortable. So it's like, well, should I? I don't want to offend my mother, but yeah, I don't know. But no, descriptions are easier for me to dialogue. Let's see. Wizard of Oz was traumatized into the brosif. Yeah. That Wicked Witch, man. Pretty cool. My middle fears nothing, but clowns and old dolls freak her out. Classics. I did meet him. Let's see. I was great you were able to each out and get his autograph. Yeah. Okay, I'll show you his autograph. His autograph is like, he doesn't just sign it. He draws in it. That's his autograph. Like, he did that for every single person in line. And that's my name. But yes, like, chef's kiss. Is there any other author you want to autograph from? Let's see who's on my shelf. I don't know. Just any and all books. Just got autographed. I got Lazelle's autograph for Blood Like Magic and Blood Like Fate a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I think it was a week ago. But yeah, that was really cool. So just as many autographs as possible. If I can go back in time, I'll get Tolkien's autograph. When you do query letters, do you ever know like how to do that at first or just winging it? So my query letter is good. I get feedback from agents saying, your query letter hooked me, but your first pages let me down. So I know my query is good. And so as of yesterday, I sent my first 50 pages to Alyssa Matesic to go over them and give me feedback. So hopefully we will be able to salvage this and get me an agent eventually. My query letters for my flash and short stories and drabbles are so easy. In those ones, you do not go over what your story is about. You say it is this genre, this many words, this title, not on submission elsewhere, never printed anywhere. This is my background. Have at it. So, yeah. So query letters for Flash are cakewalks, but for novels to agents, it took like 2 rounds to get it right. So, yeah. If you ever want help, let me know. My Instagram is nettles.animation. After some glitches, Cookie King is back at the place of his birth. Welcome back, Cookie King. Let's see. Age-appropriate dialogue is hard. I know! So in my middle grade, main character is 12, but he has an 8-year-old sister. And they were like, the 8-year-old sister sounds like a 12-year-old. It's like, how do you make a difference between an 8 and a 12-year-old in dialogue? I thought I was very grown up as an 8-year-old, so I don't know. Okay, but he's a mastermind, because who would think of doing that? Let's see. Yeah, I do have a vlog about it, I think. It's been a while. That was 2019. That's not the vlog, this one. You're amazing, Esther. Do you think writing flash fiction helped with writing a query? For sure. For sure. So I think a query is supposed to be under like 320 words. So being able to condense a story down into 2 paragraphs or less, being able to put the words in the right order, to put the hardest hitting word last or first, being able to find what are the stakes and what could go wrong, why do we care, into such a short little piece is basically a flash. So any story can usually be any number of words long. You can just expand it or contract it. And so writing so much flash and drabbles has helped me to contract my storytelling. And now I'm having to stretch my storytelling out again, and it hurts. But I can do it. It will help. It will happen. You were far too talented to not get one. The right one will come along. Thank you, JC. Thank you. Writing ages are hard, especially with kids, I feel like, but like you're kicking butt and doing your best. So, thanks. The younger sister is meant to be a very smart 8-year-old too, though, right? Clever, if I remember correctly. So she shouldn't sound like the average 8-year-old. Exactly. A drabble is 100 words exactly. So, yeah. I have reached the end of the comments. So it is now 10:20. Come back. So, where am I? Banners. There we are. Okay, so I figured we could close out with one more story, and then call it a night. So yes, you can. I might tap into writing drabbles and flashes to work the muscle for when I need to write a query. Awesome. They're great fun. So I read you guys my first story. Do we want a short story, like a full-on short story? The first one I ever got published? Or do we want the drabble I wrote tonight? Or do we want the boy in the wallpaper? That one's in Lovecraftiana that just came out last month. Bone Fairy! Okay, we can do Bone Fairy. Okay. Thank you, Jen. Okay. Opening it up. It's spinning. Site can't be reached. Well, lucky for you, I have it in a document. So, let me find... Fairy Godmother, here it is. Okay. Go away, professional wheel of waiting. Exactly. But I have it in my tiny shivers. Okay. This was originally published March 7th, 2022. Angela. The word tickled my mind when I was almost asleep, giving me goosebumps even though I was buried under thick blankets and a huge pile of teddy bears hugging me goodnight. She was here again. Tell me what you wish for. I can grant it, for a small price, of course. She was doing it again, asking me to wish for something. Mom always said I needed to work for what I want. Rainbow Teddy was for pulling weeds for a week. I ignored her. Invisible bony fingers longer than humans lightly touched my shoulder as I fell asleep. Dream about it, my sweet. She started singing about children and crunchy bones. Nibbles died. My tears fell to her fluffy white body, soaking into her fur as I clutched her to my chest, ready to show Mom. She was an old rabbit, sweetie. We'll bury her tonight when Dad gets home. How do I fix her? I pleaded. Oh, honey, there's nothing you can do. Sometimes there are things you can't fix, no matter how much you try. She reached down to take Nibbles away, but I ran to my room, hugging my first friend. I'll make my first wish, I called out. Very good. What is it you wish for, my pet? The deep woman's voice in my mind gave me goosebumps again. I could feel her fingers in my hair as she walked around me. Fix Nibbles, I whimpered. As you wish. She became visible, her hand rushing towards the side of my head. Something was inside my ear, tingling. Twist, crack, splinter. Knives were stabbing deep inside. I could hear the snap at the same time as my scream. Black spots filled my vision and I fell to the floor. Angela! Mom ran through the open doorway, not seeing the tall, dark lady with wings. The fairy godmother chuckled. I saw what looked like a small string of 3 tiny bones in the creature's hand, broken and white, ripped from inside my ear. She popped it in her mouth and began to crunch. I looked down at Nibbles, still in my arms. She was moving, her eyes bright, her long white ears laying flat against her head as she began to struggle, long feet flailing. Resurrection has a high price, my dear. The words echoed through my head. 6 months later, the sunbeams on the funeral held in the backyard shone through the X-ray I was holding. I could see where the missing bones from my left ear I could no longer hear out of should be. My missing pieces. There was a shadow of fairy wings over the dark picture, and any other picture taken of me now. Do you wish to say a few words over Nibbles? Mom asked. I couldn't cry for Nibbles again. I shook my head, my heart frozen. Regret hit me as vertigo, my new friend, showed up. Ground became sky as I hit the grass. I had gotten Nibbles for only a few more months. Not worth it. I would never wish again. We have to get rid of most of our stuff so we can move into the new apartment, Mom explained. There won't be as much room there. You can only take one of your old stuffed animals. Would that fairy lady creature be left behind with the empty house? With excitement, I dumped all my teddy bears, unicorns, and dragons into a donation bag, except Rainbow Teddy. We were moving away from the mistake I had made 3 years ago. We got situated in the van and drove to the new apartment complex. It was on the other side of town, 20 minutes away. But would it be far enough? I sat Rainbow Teddy on my new twin-size bed with a blue comforter and pulled out the Polaroid camera I'd got for my birthday. My lungs squeezed tight as the camera slipped in my clammy grip. Would she be there? Was I free? Flash. The small picture slowly emerged from the base of the camera. I took it and held it with 2 fingers, waiting for it to develop. Darkness. Faint shapes. I shook it to air it out more, make it develop faster. My slick fingers fumbled. The photo hit the floor. My heart dropped with it. It was face down, picture side on the carpet. Gingerly, I bent down to pick up my hope of a more normal life. My head tilted forward and my world flipped and spun. I froze in place, gripping the side of my bed, trying not to throw up from the vertigo. Why was I moving my head again? What was worth this? Freedom. Once the room righted itself and I could swallow again, I grasped the closest corner of the small Polaroid and flipped it. There she was, a haze with glinting teeth that crunched bones like candy, wide dragonfly-like wings spread out behind me. She had followed. I would never be able to escape. There was nothing I could do. I would pay almost anything to get rid of this fairy phantom so I could have my life to myself for the first time since her original nighttime whisper. No more inquiries about what I wanted and promises to fulfill every dream I could have with the price of bone. No more invisible fingers caressing me in my sleep while dark lullabies echoed in my mind. You can't escape, my pet. I wish you would leave me alone and never come back. Crunch. Ta-da! So that was Fairy Godmother. It is published on Frost Zone Zine, which wouldn't load for some reason. Yes. So that's one of the illustrations for the in-betweens of the stories that I commissioned. Each section of my collection has a different image. So, yeah. As someone who suffers vertigo, the Bone Fairy makes me shiver. Oh, yeah. But oh no, for vertigo. Hey, BH Sprinkle! Thank you! Just thought I'd pop in to say hello. I'm watching The Sandman on Netflix with my stepdad at the moment. It's so good! I'm on episode 4. Yay! It's a good one. Thank you. I do enjoy that one. It took like 5 I submitted to like 5 places before it finally got picked up. Gross. Loved it. Alrighty, I'm here for Bone Fairy, but that ending got me. I was like, well. Thank you. And there's my website. There's some stuff in the blog if you want to read some of my non-published stuff. And then my horror books section has a list of everywhere I'm published so far. But I need to add Birth of a Nephilim to it. I had to be careful how much I scrolled. You can't read ahead. It was worth it. Get her out of there. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for coming. This has been fabulous. You are all amazing, and it's a joy to know you. Thank you for your support and your embrace. It's just so nice. And yeah. Let me see. Ah, the tea party one. Yes, so have a great night, everybody. I will see you all later. And keep your writing spooky.